For years now, we've complained about the predictability of the Premier League and how it always kind of looks the same at the end of May. We've grown used to the title being wrapped up by Man City with 5 games to spare, and while some demoralised promoted team is mathematically relegated by the start of April. We've grown used to that dead rubber May football. But as I sit here on Tuesday, May 12, 2026, that has all been ripped to shreds. We're now entering a 7-day window that kind of defies everything we know about modern football and the Premier League in particular. We have a title race that's breathing down the neck of the final day, and a relegation battle involving 2 of the biggest clubs in London, both going down to the absolute wire. So whatever happens next, over the next week, it will cause a massive structural shift in English football. Today, I'm breaking down what I think is the most consequential week in modern Premier League history. When systems become predictable and the pressure starts to crank up a little, tactics often take a backseat, and it becomes individual brilliance which gets a team through May. Let's look at Arsenal. They aren't winning the games 4-0 anymore week in, week out, aside from Fulham, who they obviously steamrolled. They're having to grind a lot of games now. And in those grinds, Leandro Trossard has stepped up. The Belgian scored what could be the most important goal of Arsenal's season against West Ham at the weekend and assisted against Fulham, a team that Arsenal have fallen foul of in recent run-ins. And then you take a look at City, who are essentially keeping their title hopes alive through the sheer brilliance and chaos of Jeremy Doku. But it's at the bottom where the hero kind of arc, if you like, gets really interesting. Konstantinos Mavropanos, who wasn't great for West Ham, all things admitted, has suddenly become a bit of a titan, contributing with very impressive defensive performances, as well as vital goals against Man City and Wolves for the Irons. So, again, it's individual. And then in North London, Spurs, who are also in a relegation battle, you got Kinski, who has stepped up massively, and a lot of people thought his career was over against Atletico Madrid. If you didn't watch the Leeds game yesterday, go watch the highlights. He basically made a save against Longstaff in the 95th minute, I think, which may have just secured their Premier League survival when it comes down to it at the end of the season when you look at the points. You know, every point matters right now. And these players individually, Trossard, Doku, Kinski and Mavropanos, for me, have stepped up when it truly matters for these clubs. So let's take a look at East London, because the mood at the London Stadium has been very mixed. It's been very much one of fury and a lot of desperate hope at best. West Ham fans will rightly or wrongly feel very robbed by that 1-0 loss at Arsenal on Sunday. That David Raya foul decision, that VAR call at the end of the game, it'll be one of those moments that is debated for years and years and years if West Ham go down. And in a relegation scrap, you need the rub of the green, and right now West Ham just aren't getting it. I know, trust me, as a Villa fan who watched my team down there for years upon years, that league table does not give one damn about your feelings. If it's not going your way, it's not going your way. The only silver lining is Leeds did them a massive favour yesterday by holding Spurs to a 1-1 draw. Now West Ham have to travel to St James's, and Newcastle have absolutely nothing to play for. They are safe. They're not going to get Europe. So they may be on the beach already, who knows? And if West Ham can replicate the heart they put into that Arsenal performance and take 3 points there, it puts heaps of pressure on Spurs. Heaps. And with Spurs having to get to Stamford Bridge on Tuesday, a ground they've won at once in 36 years, West Ham suddenly have a legitimate chance to leapfrog their rivals. Suddenly, West Ham are in the driving seat. Now, we have to be honest about Tottenham. They have been handed a bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card in the last month. And I'm not saying Spurs haven't improved under De Zerbi, because they 100% have. They're a much better side than they were under Tudor, and probably Frank as well. Frank had the moments, but yeah. Let's be honest, they played an extremely poor Wolves side that expectedly put up 0 resistance, followed by a Villa team that rotated so heavily that they practically handed the points on a silver platter. It was one of the most lacklustre, disgusting, worst Villa performances I've ever seen. One of the worst Premier League performances in the era of Premier League I've ever seen. Spurs should be safe by now. If they beat Leeds yesterday, I think they would be safe by now. But that Leeds draw has exposed the rot again. They're sitting in 17th and they're staring a trip to the bridge in the face. I know Chelsea ain't all that at the moment, but there's nothing they'd love more, those Chelsea fans, than to send Spurs into the last day having to fight out against Everton, who are no mugs themselves, as we all know. So Spurs are far from safe, and they've got a psychological weight as well of seeing their neighbours about to win the title, probably. So yeah, talk about crunch time and pressure. That level of pressure, it's just got to be disgusting for a player. I mean, how can you even enjoy your day? How can you enjoy going to training knowing that all that is on the line? But while Arsenal, in my opinion, are preparing for glory over the next 2 weeks, let's have a look at their main rival, Manchester City. Now, Man City have fought an honest fight, but what we will look back at in this season ultimately is the silly points they've given away. And I think most Man City fans would agree with me. That draw against Everton was a bit of a turning point in this last few games of the run-in. I mean, those individual lapses in concentration, especially by Guehi, you don't usually see that from a Pep Guardiola side. And yeah, those points could be all the difference. And look, you can have all the Jeremy Doku magic in the world, but if you drop points in games that you've dominated for 80 minutes like that, you're not going to win titles like that. And it's weird seeing City do those kind of mistakes. They're the kind of things we're relating to Arsenal. That Southampton 3, Arsenal 3 game, they're the ones you think of with these silly mistakes. City play Palace tomorrow, and it's a game in hand, but if they win, they have to win. They have to keep the pressure on. But even then, they're relying on Arsenal having an ultimate collapse, the biggest collapse we've ever seen from 2 games left. I think truly for the first time in years, that City inevitability, that invincibility that they went into every game thinking, knowing that they were going to win, I think that's gone this season. I don't really know why. Maybe it's the lack of leaders. Maybe the big players haven't always been fit, like Rodri. I don't know. City fans, please let me know. But that's what it feels like to me. People are playing City thinking, yeah, we could get a result here, which never usually happens, like, ever. Like, we all supported a team in the Prem. Well, a lot of you will have supported a team in the Prem. When you go to the Etihad, any result is a bonus. A draw, a point is a bonus. You don't go to City expecting anything. So, yeah, that's what it feels like to me with City. I don't know. Let me know. And then finally, it brings us to Arsenal. And for me, Arsenal are on the brink. They've got 2 hurdles left. They've got Burnley on Monday, a team already relegated, already demoralised, and frankly, a team that Arsenal should be sweeping aside. And then on the final day, they've got Crystal Palace, which on any normal weekend would seem like a bit of a nasty challenge, a trip to Salist. But Palace are in the Conference League final just 3 days after that game, and they're going to rest everyone, and rightly so. They're not going to risk their stars for a mid-table finish when they have a European trophy 72 hours later. So Arsenal have been given the perfect opportunity, and they've earned the perfect opportunity to win this week and then change the Premier League landscape forever. They're potentially going to end the City and Liverpool era that has dominated the league for the last 10 to 12 years. And they're going to do so while their rivals, their biggest rivals, are fighting for their lives. So, yeah, this for me is the week, folks. This is the one that we shall be talking about for a long, long time, especially if you're an Arsenal fan. So, yeah, I'm Harry Moore. This was Harry's Football Debrief. If you're loving it all as much as I am, hit that subscribe button and let me know how you feel about your final day predictions and stuff in the comments. Yeah, it's going to be a hell of an ending. I'm buzzing for it. I know you probably are. So yeah, let me know how you think the season's going to end up. Who's going down? Who's staying up? Who's going to win the title? Is it going to be Arsenal? Is it going to be City? Is it going to be Spurs? Is it going to be West Ham? Thanks for watching, everybody. Like, subscribe, and comment. Cheers.